Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Good evening. We begin tonight with 20 million of us bracing for bitter cold and a new round of wintry weather. This was a scene in Utah overnight. Snowplows already working overtime to clear roads during that triple threat of strong winds, heavy snow, and icy conditions. But it's not just there. You can see it really coming down across much of the Mountain West as that system moved east. And in the Midwest tonight, temperatures plummeted. So cold it even froze the shoreline along Lake Superior. Adrian Braun starts us off tonight from Chicago.
Tonight, as snowplows in Utah push through heavy snow, a fast-moving system is putting 20 million people under winter weather alerts.
Here we are. Another day in paradise.
In the northern Rockies, some states picked up nearly a foot of snow. 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts swept the slopes in Breckenridge, Colorado. Woo! But skiers kept going. In Iowa, fresh snow blanketing the final fall colors. Snow, ice, and wind also creating dangerous road conditions. In Arkansas, fog is reducing visibility. And Lake Superior's frozen shoreline in Wisconsin shows how hard this cold snap is hitting the Midwest.
I don't know how y'all do winter here because I can barely handle this.
In Chicago, wind chills dipped lower than many expected this week, and winter is still weeks away.
This is early for us to have this much snow and these temperatures, so we're kind of bracing ourselves for a rough one this year.
Never seen this much snow this early.
Adrian joins me now from Chicago. And Adrian, we're tracking dangerous cold throughout the weekend.
Jose, we are. Tonight's coldest air is in the northern plains with temperatures below zero. And tomorrow's high, 10 to 25 degrees below average. On Sunday, parts of Minnesota and the Dakotas will struggle to climb above single digits. Jose?
Adrian brought us in Chicago. Thank you. Just in tonight, prosecutors releasing new photos of evidence related to accused CEO killer Luigi Mangione. That evidence including items that may be important to the case, including clothes that he wore when he was arrested, a USB drive that he had around his neck, a fake driver's license, along with this white piece of paper that appears to show some of his planning, including the phrase survival kit. It comes as Mangione is set to appear in court again next week. To Washington now, where Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. military will continue to target boats in the Caribbean as the Pentagon faces growing questions about possible military action against Venezuela. Julie Serkin reports.
Weigh in, Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst and founder of the Caldwell Institute. Gianno, we had that race in Tennessee last week where the Republican squeaked out, well, I don't know if you call it a squeak, but he won by 9 points in a race that a lot of people thought could go the other way. Why is a mayoral election in Miami attracting so much political attention?
I mean, for one, this is an area that has been a beacon of hope for so many during COVID. As an example, I came here from Los Angeles seeking refuge and safety, and certainly people who follow the actual science. And so many other people from across the country did exactly the same. If you look at the numbers in New York, Illinois, California, a lot of people came here to Miami looking for that, including a guy by the name of Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel, one of the largest hedge funds in the world, who believes that Miami will maybe possibly one day outpace New York as the financial hub of the world. So there is a lot of activity here. President President Trump is looking to set his presidential library here, and certainly Florida has been a red state now, and Miami is a red city for many people. We saw that during President Trump's run in 2024, and Ron DeSantis as well. So if Democrats can attempt to pick off Miami by supporting someone who believes in the elimination of cash bail, someone who believes in defunding the police, who's been supportive of that in the past, then we're in real trouble here. And I think this will be a bellwether for the rest of the country.
One of the people who is always rumored to be interested in running for president is Pete Buttigieg, the former Secretary of Transportation under Joe Biden. Even he has issued an endorsement for Higgins in this race. Listen. I believe deeply in the importance of local leadership, especially right now. And Eileen has spent years showing up for this community. She has fought for more affordable housing, for better transit, and for safer neighborhoods. This election really matters, so please make sure that you and everyone you talk to has a plan to vote. So if you're getting, endorsements from a potential presidential aspirant or candidate, it goes to show that this race has taken on national implications.
Exactly right. This should be a red flag to anyone in the city of Miami. I encourage you to vote December 9th for Emilio Gonzalez, which is who the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety, the organization I founded after my innocent teenage brother was murdered June 2022 in Chicago, to fight back against all gun crime policies.
On this Saturday night, a long-awaited homecoming. Indigenous communities celebrate the return of more than 60 artifacts from the Vatican.
We were rushing this morning because our ancestors were in such a rush to get where they were from.
The latest step in reconciliation and the path ahead. Remembering the victims of the École Polytechnique massacre in Montreal. 36 years on, the new warning about the rise in violence against women. World Cup schedule. FIFA reveals which countries are playing in Canada, plus concerns some teams won't be allowed in the U.S. because of Trump's travel ban. And the legacy of Frank Gehry, a look back at the transformative work of the Canadian architect.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. More than 60 Indigenous artifacts were returned to Canada this morning after spending a century at the Vatican. The priceless items were taken from Indigenous communities back in 1925 and put on display as part of the Vatican's missionary exhibition. Their repatriation makes good on a promise first made by Pope Francis 3 years ago. Mike Armstrong reports on their emotional homecoming and why Indigenous groups hope it's just the beginning.
The Indigenous groups that worked for years to make this shipment happen have a word to represent how important it is. Boxes unloaded at Montreal's Trudeau Airport Saturday morning contained not simply artifacts, they also call them relatives.
Hello and a very good morning. It's 8 o'clock. This is Mornings with Jones and Melbourne. I'm Anna.
I'm Kamali. Thanks for starting the day with us. Tell me.
25 people, including several tourists, are killed after a fire in one of India's most popular coastal destinations.
President Zelensky during Downing Streets tomorrow alongside Chancellor Merz and President Macron. Meanwhile, Sky News has been inside underground military base in Ukraine.
FIFA announces the dates, cities and venues for matches at next year's Football World Cup, allowing fans to start finalising their plans.
Those plans are being made, and in F1 we're going to look at Lando Norris's chances of winning his first F1 championship, the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
उसके घर वालों को अपना समझना और सबके दिलों में अपनी जगह बनाना। हीरा ढूंढा है तुम्हारे लिए।
Of winning.
Secretary Pat McFadden
his opposite number, Conservative Helen Whately, and the former chair of the Equality and Human Rights Commission. In F1, can Lando Norris's chances of winning his first F1 championship season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix? And I'll be live at 8:30 on Sunday morning with Trevor Phillips, joined by the Work and Pensions Secretary Pat McFadden, his opposite number, Conservative Helen Whately, and the former chair of the Equality and Human Rights Commission, Baroness Kishwa Faulkner.
Very good. Hello, very good morning. Thanks for joining us here today. Our top story, 25 people have been killed after a fire at a nightclub in the Indian state of Goa. There are several tourists amongst the dead, according to officials, who say 6 others have also been injured.
Yeah, it happened in the village of Apura, which is in the north of the state. It's a state very popular with people from all over the world. Well, let's go to New Delhi now and speak to Neville Lazarus, who's there for us. Great to have you with us, Neville. What's the latest?
Today, more than 75 still burning in New South Wales. A natural disaster is declared in the worst hit areas.
Everything is all gone. The whole lot.
Anthony Albanese defends the business class trip for his communication minister to promote the government's social media ban on the world stage. New South Wales shark spotting programme to patrol the state beaches to start earlier this year. And play resumes in the second Ashes test at the Gabba, with Australia in a commanding position over the visitors. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Lorna Dunkley. Residents impacted by the New South Wales bushfires will be able to access relief payments after the federal and state governments made a natural disaster declaration. At least a dozen homes were destroyed on the central coast at Coolawong after a fire.
This is Asia Now.
Good afternoon. It's about PM in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Ilakya Silveraji. Your headlines this hour. Hong Kong votes for new lawmakers under Beijing's Patriots-only rules through government efforts to drive turnout and override cities. Police at the pop-up city to Goa has 24 employees are investigating the cause and have launched an inquiry. And rescue efforts in efforts and landslides leave more than 100 dead. 106. There are
Africa News. The news.
The Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo was chaos. Thousands of people moved fleeing the intense fighting. Men, women and children carrying their belongings and leaving their villages in South Kivu. A forced exodus as clashes between the Congolese army and M23 rebels intensified. The M23 and the Congolese army are dropping their bombs. Since the day before yesterday, they have caused numerous deaths. Yesterday, people were killed in my neighborhood, which is why we decided to flee today. Since Tuesday, the fighting has escalated, hitting Katagota and surrounding areas hard. On Saturday morning, fierce clashes continued around Luvungi in the Ruzizi plain. Local sources report around 20 civilians killed, innocent victims of this endless war. We are walking to you, Vera. May the authorities help put an end to this war. We want to go back home and live like everyone else. Many people have died because of the bombings. I survived with my children. This surge in violence comes just days after a glimmer of hope. On Thursday, the leaders of the DRC and Rwanda signed an agreement meant to restore peace. An agreement now reduced to ashes. The Congolese armed forces and the M23 accusing one another of violating a ceasefire that clearly never held.
Authorities in Kenya have released a damning report from the parliamentary inquiry accusing the British Army's training unit in the country of serious human rights violations, environmental damage, and misconduct spanning decades. The investigation conducted by the Defense Intelligence and Information Committee documented repeated incidents of sexual abuse, including rape and assault, often followed by abandonment of children fathered by soldiers. Beyond sexual violence, the report also holds Batuk responsible for environmental destruction, negligence in handling ordnance, and improper disposal of military waste, leading to injury, death, and degradation of local land. The UK government responded by aggressive findings and saying it stands ready to investigate new allegations once evidence is provided, according to its statement.
International football's governing body, FIFA, has awarded US President Donald Trump its first ever Peace Prize for what it says are his efforts to work toward peace around the world. FIFA's chairman, Gianni Infantino, presented Trump with the award at the 2026 World Cup draw in Washington on Friday. Trump has openly campaigned for the Nobel Peace Prize and had been favored to win FIFA's newly created award.
Well, thank you very much. This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, Johnny and I were discussing this. We saved millions and millions of lives.
Trump claimed to have ended wars in Gaza and the DRC, among others, though fighting continues in both places. The 2026 World Cup is being hosted by the US, Mexico, and Canada. Kicking off in June, it will feature 104 matches across 16 cities.
It's24.com. Welcome back to Daybreak on France 24. My name is Peter O'Brien. The headlines. Hong Kong goes to the polls with all eyes on turnout as the city mourns a devastating fire. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is in Israel as mediators Qatar and Egypt call for more progress on the second phase of the Gaza ceasefire. And Syrians are celebrating 1 year since the fall of Bashar al-Assad and hoping for a return of tourists to famous sites like Palmyra.
DW News live from Berlin. Chancellor Friedrich Merz reaffirms Germany's backing for Israel during his tour of the Middle East. Ties with Israel have been shaken by the war in Gaza, but Merz says support for Israel is in Germany's DNA. He's due to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu later today. Also coming up, a fire rips through a nightclub in the Indian state of Goa, killing 25 people. An inquiry is looking into the cause of the blaze and whether negligence was to blame. Plus, Christmas festivities return to the holy city of Bethlehem after a 2-year hiatus. The traditional tree lights up for the first time since...
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.